Hi, this is week 3 of our class and we will cover Photoshop now. We will start with the first lesson in Photoshop. I already went ahead and launched the software. So this is the interface, and on the left side we have the toolbox with all the tools that we will cover. On the top we have the menu, and on the right we have the panels. Now the panels are, as I said, on the right, but you can close them and open otherwise depending on what you're working with and what you need to do. So for example, if you wish to close the layers panel, which is not recommended because we use layers all the time in Photoshop, but just for me to show you, you just click on this upper right little icon, and then you can just say close tab group, and then the layers panel will disappear. To find it back or to open it, you can go ahead and find all your panels under Window. So click under Window and then find Layers, and then it comes back here. If you wish to open other panels, let's say the History panel or any other panel, the ones that have a check next to them are the ones that are open already for me. Let's say I want to open the History panel. You see it opens right here, and it will record my history steps. To close it, I will just click on this double arrowed little icon. But this little thing that you see here on the right is just a collection of icons that are shortcuts to the panels. So if you want to open the history panel, for example, you click on this one, but you can also find it under the window menu item. This is actions, for example, which is a very powerful thing in Photoshop, and we'll cover in a later tutorial and so forth. Now to start with starting a document, I will go ahead and go to File, New, and you will see this window. This advanced icon I want to close because we don't need that part yet. So to name a document, I don't usually name a document until I save it. So I'm going to skip this step until we actually create our document and then do something with it and then save. And that's when we'll name it. For a preset where it says clipboard, it's basically asking us, would you like a standard size paper like US paper, or would you like something for the web? Would you like to customize your own document? So this is where you start basically by choosing what you want to do. Let's say I select US paper. I will get another drop down which says size, because there are 3 standard sizes. One is letter, legal, and tabloid. And you can see immediately that it says 8.5 for the width and 11 for the height, which is the standard size of a letter US paper, obviously inches. Now if I want to create my own document with my own customized sizes, I can just go ahead and click on custom and then make my changes right here. So let's say I want to create a document that is 10 inches wide by 10 inches high. I do that right here. Now remember one thing, and it's actually a distinction between inches and pixels. The remaining items in the drop-down of the dimension you don't really need, because centimeters, millimeters, and so forth are used in Europe and the Middle East. So what concerns us here in the US is inches and pixels for the web. Now we're just starting with Photoshop. We're starting to learn, so we're not there yet. We're not even close to covering concepts related to the web, but just to have an idea, make sure that in the future, hopefully when you start working with web-related projects, let's say you want to design a website and you need to design like a container, something related to the homepage and so forth, you need to use pixels and not inches. So just remember that anytime you're working with the web, you need pixels. So for example, let's say I'm creating a nice container on the homepage of a specific website. I will go ahead and change my dimensions from inches to pixels, and then enter, the value. Let's say you have 1,000 pixel wide container that is 700 pixels high. and that has a resolution of 72 pixels per inch. Remember that for web-related projects like websites, web applications, and so forth, anything that goes on a screen, basically, you need to choose a low resolution of 72 pixels per inch, and then you need to choose RGB color. If you're working on a print project, which is what we will do right now, you need to have inches, and then customize your size, let's say a 10-inch by a 10-inch document. And since this final document is going to be printed, or it's for print purposes, we need a high resolution of 300 pixels per inch. Because if we print with a small resolution of 72 pixels per inch, you will see, you know, the term is pixelated, if you will, a pixelated result, a low resolution result, an ugly final printout. So make sure you have a high resolution set here of 300 pixels per inch, for example. And you know, the 300 value works for many document sizes, so it's good to stick with it. And again, if you're printing something and if it's not web related, go ahead and choose CMYK and not RGB for your color mode. Here where it says background contents, it's basically asking us what we would like the background to be, if we wanted color, transparent, or white. For this purpose, we will just choose white and then hit OK. So this is our document. And if you look at this layers panel, I know we're not there yet, but just start getting acquainted with this interface. And the layers panel is a panel you'll work with a lot, endlessly with Photoshop. The whole concept of Photoshop is based on layers. So just look at the layers panel and realize that you have the first layer, which is the background layer, and it's white because that's the color we chose for our background layer. Now to save this document before we do anything, it's the best thing to do to constantly save, because you don't know when your computer might crash, or you may forget to save and you will have worked for hours, you will lose your work. So just save your work constantly and the minute you start. So let's go ahead and do that. File, save as, and I will create a folder on my desktop. So I'm clicking on desktop, and then I will create a new folder from here. Now if you have this little icon closed, you might have this window, right? And you might panic, oh, I don't see the options like the professor does. Just click on this little icon right here, and then the window increases the options for you. So now you know where to look, okay? I'm choosing desktop, and on the desktop, while I have desktop selected in this light blue color, I will go ahead and create a new folder and call the folder CAS 205 Fall 13 section 1. Okay, create that and then call this file first exercise, and then I'll keep it as a PSD file. Now, what is a PSD file and what are other formats? Now, it says PSD right here because that's the default of Photoshop. PSD would imply that the file, if the file contains layers, currently it contains only one layer because we still haven't added new layers. But if we do add new layers and we save the file as PSD, it means that whenever we close the file and open it in the future, the layers will be preserved. We will have, let's say we had 10 layers, we will have them when we open the file, we will find them. If we save it as another extension, let's say as a JPEG file, for example, or an EPS, let's choose JPEG for now. Under format, obviously I went under format, and instead of Photoshop I chose JPEG, and that changes first of all the extension for me from PSD to JPEG. And then when I save the file, basically, if it's made up of several layers, they will all merge into one. So this is a good thing and a very important thing to pay attention to, because later on, if you, let's say you have a layer of a background of a lake, and then in the foreground you have another layer of an eagle flying, and if you save your file as a JPEG and in the future you wish to open it to make changes to the eagle, you can't, because the eagle's layer is stuck to that of the lake. So just make sure if you need to preserve your layers for some purpose in the future, save your file as PSD. What I do, because I've worked with this for so many years, I have two files always. I always keep the PSD file. I never ruin it. So I always keep my PSD file, first exercise.psd. It remains forever. And then if I need to print something or send a file to a friend or send it by email to somebody, that's when I save another copy of the file by going to File, Save As, and I would then use the extension JPEG, but I would never copy over my original file, my original PSD file. So let me go ahead and hit save, and you will see the name appear right here in the tab, first exercise.psd, and then it says CMYK because that's the color mode we chose for our document. So this is basically our first tutorial, and we covered how to start a document in Photoshop, and we got acquainted with dimensions, pixels, inches, formats, and so forth. So we'll cover more in the next tutorial.